So as we get started, just thank you for coming, and obviously we all have some interest and passion and appreciation for our history. So Mark will give you some of the information as far as just getting into the history of our few months together and our interest in even starting it. First of all, Tony, raise your hand, and Rich and I were interested in preserving and saving it, but we just didn't know what was behind all the layers, and that was our beginning of, what, 2-3 years ago or more?
About 2 years ago.
Yeah, so they tabled the idea of tearing it down, and then we proceeded and kept doing the research, and then Mark showed up.
So,
There you go.
anyway, so yeah, it's great to be here. It's really great to be here because the future of this building was slated to be demolished, and then there would be a metal pole barn here to store lawnmowers in instead of this building. So we're really excited that we've made a decision to move forward and explore this thing. I first heard about it over there at the muzzleloading range, and I heard there's a log cabin up there, but it's full of termites. So, but my son-in-law Kyle's a historic structural engineer, so I asked if we got permission to come in and take a look at the cabin and do some examine it from the structural angle. And we do have a couple of structural reports here if anyone is interested in seeing them. But I'll make it quick and just read a little bit about our history. In the spring of this year, which was last year, in the spring of last year, now I wrote this when we were about 90 days into working with the log house. In the spring of this year, while attending the club meeting at the Ashland Conservation Wildlife Conservation League, discussion presentation was presented regarding removal of the house on the hill. I'd been informed this was a log house, however, full of termites. I suggested in this discussion the house be evaluated by Kyle Whittle, historical structural engineer, before being removed. Initial examination revealed termite damage at expected areas, which is around the mantle, which is where moisture comes in. And however, when it was examined by Lucrest Pest Control, it was determined likely termites were not currently present. The structural engineer, Kyle Whittle, did find areas of structural concern. However, removal of superficial wall coverings would be necessary to expose these areas to evaluate further. From the historical standpoint, Kyle found the structure remarkable for these reasons. One, the size. It's very unusual to find a full 2-story log house of this size in Ohio. Number two, the condition. There are some areas that have been altered over the years. However, the earlier structure is remarkably intact. 3, location. Sitting on top of the hill at the farm with 2 lakes, public access provides a beautiful and accessible historical site where people can experience history. A group of volunteers has formed to expose the history of ownership of this building. A good deal of history has been found. However, regarding ownership prior to 1850, we are currently at a standstill. Recently discovered photograph from the late 19th century has revealed to us a good deal of visual information from that time. We are convinced the original structure probably dates from the first quarter of the 19th century. Our construction crew is a small band of volunteers. We have worked diligently for the past 3 months. We've had a lot of fun doing it, and have revealed and discovered significant information regarding this structure. The large front building is 2 stories and is of the pioneer period, constructed of squared logs 16 to 22 inches in diameter. It was originally whitewashed, as were large beams in the ceiling. The floor rests on keeper stones laid on the ground. The square cut-nail construction suggests a date after 1815 when they came into common use. However, rosehead forged nails are used indoors. Scarlett has some nails on this little, so you can handle the nails here. Anyway, rosehead nails, let's see, were used in the doors. These were commonly used earlier. So following the whitewash, we've found early wallpaper on the logs. If you examine closely right over here, the traces. We're not sure if the second story was of original construction. However, we suspect it might have been. A further structural evaluation will take place during September, and recommendations will be provided. The structure appears at this time to be in much better condition than we initially suspected. We sent photographs to Abby Marshall at the Ohio Historical Connection in Columbus. Her response was, "That looks fantastic." We have been encouraged by Abby to further utilize their resources. Sincerely, me. So that's all I have.
So that gives you a little idea that we traveled 200 years back instead of going somewhere this summer, because we lived here. This is our second home when it was warmer. So now Ashland County Community Fund, we have applied for a grant, we've received it. It's one of those community ones where they, it's like Keystone one, where we raise them out and they give a portion. So that's what we're currently working on, and we have a lot of interest and a lot of people looking at maybe possibly using this in an educational way. So we'd like to future days have proper lighting and electric that is safe and proper for now and in the future. So that's our goal right now, is to get this first floor at a place where we can have the electric coming through, and we've got amazing talented people. Tony, just go ahead and raise your hand. I'm not going to call you Johnny Appleseed today. He has been phenomenal with resources, and Gary's been wonderful with the finance part of it and guiding me, because I've done a grant before, but not in this scale. I've done school grants, but I'm finding this is another animal that I'm loving. So this is really exciting for everybody that's come through, and we'll have future open houses and such, and a lot of opportunities to use this venue for the young, older, and then the other generations to come. And with that being said, Andy has been here and been past president for a very long time. Very long time. And so he has a lot of faith, a lot of belief and passion for this property as a whole. And he would like to give a few words, and same with Bob DeSanto.
All right, well, I went to a meeting, where they originally started this and kind of agreed to help spearhead some financing for this endeavor that really we're all passionate about. Everybody here would be passionate about it. So I thought it would be a good thing to start the ball rolling with a check from my bird farm, and that would kind of get something to start on. I can add to it eventually, and I think Bob may have a little something to say about that. But also, these kids that come from the shooting sports, we've had groups and groups and groups over the years. Brian Schoen from the shooting sports group has spearheaded that. These things are going to really keep this thing rolling. We could use this for an educational center eventually, and would really be nice. So my grandson, he's gone to all these events all the way up till he's
Kids Day.
19 years old,
Yeah.
and his dad was involved in this. So
Yeah.
So
multi-generation of
yeah.
giving
Oh,
time, effort.
Well, I remember coming here when I was just a little shaver, I mean, my whole life, so
Sure.
it's pretty interesting to see the thing, grow over and over and over.
Yeah.
We've done a massive amount of major improvements over the years. We redid lakes, we redid the barn, we did everything. I mean, we've really done a lot of team effort, committee run, organizational things that made the place better. So I do want me to give this money away now or wait till.
It's your money.
All right.
There.
This is,
wow. Well, thank you very
this is
much.
a check that
Stay here. That's awesome. That's going to be spent very well.
well, this is a starting point.
It's an excellent starting point to work with so much that we have to work on and keep improving. So thank you very much.
Well, I was gonna say, I've been asked to say a few words, but while I was standing here, I was thinking, it's possible that Johnny Appleseed was here at one time.
It is.
And maybe he's recreated it. Maybe he's here with us. out of Tony there if you can.
Gary put his pot on.
Tony, come on over.
Yeah.
Come on over here, Tony.
It's amazing how the
He
world
is.
just turns.
Yes, he is.
I think this is a wonderful project. I'm thrilled with it. When Andy was telling me about it, I did not imagine that it would be really this nice. And I think it is so wonderful, and that the kids are here, and we think about the history of this area, really. You know, I know when the kids think, well, this might have been built in, 1830, maybe? Yeah, that's a long time, you think, but it isn't all that long. Not when you're 70 or 80, it's really just about a couple lifetimes. So you're very close, what I'm thinking, you're very close to the pioneers themselves. You know, people didn't white settlers didn't even come into Ohio until about 1788. I mean, that's not very long before this cabin was built. And the first cabin that I understand, I got a fact checker here, so I got to be careful. But the first cabin in Vermilion Township was 1811. If this cabin was built 20 or 30 years later, it's one of the very first in this area. And then when you think about it, Vermilion, the whole township really was created, I think, in the 1840s. Vermilion, the school that you've got up there at Vermilion Institute, 1844. So these houses are like this, were really one of the first. And you think about the other historic part that we don't often think about is 30, the road 30. That was the entranceway into Ohio, and the settlers that came from Pennsylvania, they were coming right along 30, and they were settling in this area because you know where the best soil was found in Ohio? On the other side of 30. You know where the best barns are built in Ohio? Right along 30. Because those were the craftsmen that were coming from Pennsylvania. The German Dutch, they knew how to build these bank barns, and you've got wonderful barns in this area. And that's all kind of connected to this, I think. And you look and you think about who were the pioneers. I will tell you, they were tough people. They were people, we go home and we've got the comfort of our warmth and our TVs and the microwaves, all that stuff. These people had very, very little. They had to cut it out of the woods and build. Now, think about it. Think about you going into the woods, cutting wood like this, bringing it back and making a house. Tremendous. They went through the winters, areas around here. Henry Beecher and all right, I guess that's enough. Right? So when I think about it, there were wolves out here at that time. They had to deal with wolves. I think they might even had to deal with mountain lions, or what they call panthers.
Bears.
Bears, yeah. So this was wild country. You need to think about that. And this road that it's on, I think this is a historic road. Right off of 30, right where Seymour Creek is. And you know what they did on Seymour Creek? The kids, close your ears. They made whiskey. These pioneers, they were into cider, they were into beer, and they were into whiskey. Because that was, I guess if you lived in the conditions they are, that was pretty important. But they were independent people. They were self-reliant people. They were people that were really developing the American character and American ideas and bringing this great country forward. And it was people like that we have to remember. And so many times we hear criticisms. This country's not about criticism. This country's about great people and a great history. You know how old people were when they were old people when they were building these cabins? The life expectancy was 30 to 40 years. If you survived childhood, which a lot of them didn't. So they were, and they were very impressed with education. Look at the Vermilion Institute, that's right in Hayesville. Hayesville's a pretty neat town. Well, anyway, enough said. This is a great project. I think it's going to have a lot of importance. You have this, you know, you have an Indian presence, Native American presence. You know, when these cabins were built, there were Native Americans in these woods and in the area. You know, you have, Jerometown? Was it Jerometown? You have Greentown. Do you know about Greentown and Jerome? See, you've got all this to learn, okay? And I'll bet they'll teach it right here. And this will bring it to the forward, because they're not gonna learn in other places.
I wanna add something about your log thing you mentioned earlier about the building with logs. Well, at one time when we redid the barn down here, they would drive the wagons in the top of the barn, and we had to redo the floor there years ago. But the floor beams in the middle of the barn, just out from the kitchen, were rotted because of all the wet wagons and the equipment driving in. So we actually went up in the woods here and selected 4 trees and took them to the mill and sliced them down and put them in as native beams. So if you're down in the bottom of the barn, you look, you can see the 4 new beams. They're not hand hewn, but they are beams from this property that we use.
So I think this is gonna be a wonderful thing for the community. And Scarlett, I've got a check here not to match yours. Yours was superior. But I would like to make a donation to, as Andy's called for, from the Sano and Kellogg law office. It's $500 to get you started there, okay?
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. That was a good history lesson in itself. We have a history teacher here, so I'm sure you appreciate that.
Fact checker.
You have a couple going on. Woo!
Yeah.
That worried me.
There's some good new young bow shooters here
Oh,
too.
yes.
That joined us.
Exciting
Great to
stuff
see the
ahead.
kids.
So, thank you very much for your time, and you're welcome to look through the home. It's lit, but do be careful as you step through. And if you have any questions, let us know. We'll try to help you out.
This is a construction site, so there are rusty nails on the walls and on the floor upstairs. Be very careful when you walk. If you don't even go there if you don't have thick soles on your shoes. It's all in process, and so, but enjoy it. So. All of this is all going, the future of this is to all be restored and be replaced. That's gonna be a major project, but we've got some experts over in the corner over there.
And tell me about the plaster in there. Is that modern plaster or old plaster?
No, that's old plaster.
What's it made of?
Well, it's gonna be lime. It's gonna be lime, and I don't see horsehair in
You
there.
don't see horsehair?
I do not, but, and I'm only seeing 1 layer of plaster. I'm not seeing, you know, today we use 2 layers, and in the Victorian period, they used 2 layers also, so. Upstairs in the ceiling, you'll notice it's very, very, very thin. So, you know, they used lime for whitewash, so, yeah. When that plaster was done, the lath, there's 2 generations of lath. One generation is hand-riven lath, so it was split, and you'll see that upstairs. We're going to have a window to, you know, to allow that to be visualized. But the other layer is machine, over in this section, this building, you'll find machine cut lath, which is later in time, in maybe 1840, 30, 40, 50, so. But above this structure, you're gonna see, and go look, so.
Cool.
And we've had a lot of discussion, and we kinda wanna not bring it all back to log, but to make it an educational progression of what it started at and what it ended up at.
We have a farmhouse just up the road. When I went upstairs, I thought I was in our old farmhouse. It was exactly like duplicated up there. So that's how they did it.
Very good. Well, thanks again, and enjoy yourself.
Thanks for the hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, we can do that. Yep, yep.